All right, here we go. Got Project Reba back in the shop, and it is finally that time. For those that don't know the backstory, just real quick, I got this truck, 1988 Ford Centurion 4-door Bronco, C350, so it's on a F350 frame and chassis. It's got the 460 with the C6 behind it, and right after I got it, I noticed some lifter tick or valve tick, and sure enough, I ended up having a wiped cam lobe. So new cam, new lifters, replaced all the rocker arms, got the whole thing put back together, and I'm about 500 miles now, pretty close, give or take. So I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm going to pull the intake back off. My rear China wall gasket slid out of place, and I didn't notice it until after all RTV had set. So I just did a patch job with RTV to plug it up for the remainder of the 500-mile break-in period, and so that's why we're going to pull the intake on this one. But that'll also give me a good chance to get in there and actually look at the cam lobes and make sure everything's still looking right. I mean, it sounds great, so I'm going to try to do this without pulling the water pump. There's a little short piece of a heater hose for the water bypass from the intake to the water pump, and it's going to be kind of tricky getting that in there, but I think I can finagle it. We'll just see how that part plays out. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get that little chunky heater hose in there, probably just by wiggling the aluminum intake in place, you know, at the same time. So a little bit tricky, but not too bad. So, damn, I hate antifreeze. Hate it with a passion. Now I need to mark this distributor so it goes back in exactly how it come out. Okay, so that looks good. And then I'm going to put a couple lines right here marking exactly where the rotor is sitting. Make sure nothing weasels its way down in there. Clobber that thing full with a paper towel. Okay, coil is out of the way. This is like the fifth water neck housing gasket I'll have needed. Let's get them loose. That bolt, that's a stainless steel bolt. It's only been in this intake for not even a month, maybe a month. And I even put the best thread sealant on there that I could, and it's still got rust on it. I bought all of this stainless hardware from my local hardware shop. Man, can even still smell that sealant on there. But all stainless hardware for like $8, and that was with some extras, you know, versus like an ARP kit that costs, you know, 60, 70, maybe more. All right, it is free. Okay, she's loose on the front side. It's probably all that RTV I got jammed in the backside over there. Okay, now she's loose. Now the fun part. Okay, there it goes. Well, so far so good. Got a little bit of coolant leaking down in there. Trying to get that soaked up real quick. Okay, so you can see these edges here. Everything looks like it's sealed up great. This side the gasket stuck to two. Now looking down in here, I don't see anything suspect yet. Now this one right here, the number one exhaust, actually it was that one. The number one exhaust was giving me problems. You can see that lobe right there, everything pretty much looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and inspect the rest of these one by one, and hopefully we'll be all set. I can go ahead and put it back together. All right, just so everybody can kind of see my process here. You know, I got the other, well, first I plugged everything up. Every single port I plugged up. And then I laid just like a dish towel in the valley. And then I scrape everything clean, as much as I can anyway. This backside over here was kind of a bugger just because it's a long reach and I got so much of that red RTV back there. But if I didn't just chase the threads the last time I did this, I'd be chasing all these threads again. But right now, the only thing that's in them is a little bit of this sealant, and I'm really not worried about it. It's even still malleable. So I'm gonna leave most of that. I'm not gonna bother chasing the threads. I'm gonna hit all these surfaces with a little piece of Scotch-Brite just to kind of rough them up. And then I'm gonna vacuum the whole thing, get all the crud out of here, out of each of the ports. And once that part's done, I'll pull all my plugs out and then I'll wipe everything down with some brake clean. And then we'll kind of do the same thing, at least the scraping and the Scotch-Brite. And you can use a whiz wheel if you want to, or a grinder, just to kind of clean up the surfaces. And I'll do the same thing to the intake itself. And then we'll be ready to go. I'll show you these port plugs that I made. If you didn't catch that in the last video, these exhaust port crossover tubes, or plugs, ports, no, just ports. I made blank off plates and drilled 5/16 holes in them. Aluminum intakes tend to heat soak a lot faster and it will cook the fuel right out of your carb. So that's why I did that. So yeah, here we go. And I think I am gonna try the silicone bead method. I was just thinking about it, and you know what? I mean, at this point, I mean, I guess I have a lot to lose either way if it doesn't work. I'm so tired of bending over the front of this engine bay. But that's the price you pay having an older vehicle like this, and it's one I'm more than happy to pay. I got shadows going everywhere, but yeah, turned out really nice. That backside, you can see all the gunk I still got behind it, but as long as the mating surfaces are all clean, that's all I care about. Nobody's ever gonna see that stuff back there. All right, so all of the mating surfaces have been scraped, cleaned, you know, Scotch-Brite, all that crap. All that's left is to vacuum everything out and then give it a wipe down, and then we can start the reassembly. So here we go. I try to make sure that the plug stays placed so that I can run them. All right, looks good. I'll give everything in here a good wipe down. And we'll do the same to the intake, the water neck here. I think before I do put this intake back in, I am gonna drain the oil just so I can, you know, if there's a lot of crap in it, you know, at least I'll still have this off and I can look for something. I did end up hitting this with the wire wheel just to help get rid of all that excess RTV that was on the back side. All right, all the parts are ready for reassembly. While we're waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and drain that oil. I don't think I could be much happier. That's the magnetic drain plug. Man, the zoom on this thing sucks. And there's hardly anything on it. So for a brand new cam, after a totally worn out cam lobe, nothing else changed in the engine except new cam lifters and rocker arms. You know, I'm really happy with that. All right, so here we go. Ready to get this thing put back together now. I'm gonna use the two, so these are the locating studs that I made just for this project. I'm gonna use the back two And then the middle two verticals, and hopefully, actually let's go to this one. Yeah, there we go. And hopefully that'll give me enough clearance to get that stupid nub in there. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things here. And I'm going to be using the right stuff for this part of it, and then that Dow Corning 732 sealant for the China walls. These are the blank off or restrictor plates that I made to go into there, okay? Now it can't go into the intake or this port here. I've already tried it and it won't fit through, so it's just big enough. And the thickness of these, I don't remember what it is. It's on my other video, but it's just thinner than the gasket. And I verified that there's not much squish in the gasket. I took both of the old gaskets and double checked, and the gasket is still thicker than this blank off plate or restrictor plate, even after it's been squished. So that's how I know those are good. The blue checkered side goes down, if I remember correctly. Yep, blue checkered side goes down. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these back off. Get my right stuff smeared on those water ports. All right, one last quick sanity check. Oh, by the ways, I think we're set. Just a just a skim on this stuff. That'll also help keep the gaskets in place while I'm working. I'll do the same thing to these. When I say light, I mean extremely light. Buddy, probably shitting bricks right now. I'm not going all out with this. I've always been the kind of guy, to borrow a phrase from AVE, the bigger the gob, the better the job. And this is not the place for that. Now, we take our restrictor plate, and you'll get a better shot of this from the other side, but I put a little bit of this RTV in the opening and stick that restrictor plate right on in there. Yep, doesn't fall through. It's, yep, all right. And like I said, you'll get a better shot of that on this side. In place. And then do the same thing with the other restrictor plate. Just right around the edge there. Just enough to kind of keep that plate in the cutout. Now, if you watch here, oh. Okay, see, so when the gasket is completely set, where it is right now, it's in position, that plate is right in position and it can't go anywhere. And it wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of extra goo around this, but I'm not worried about it. All of that is set. Now we're going to get the 732 out here for the China walls. Okay, I'm going to try to give you guys the best view I possibly can. Obviously you want to get your corners. Man, I wish I could. I know this is going to impede your guys' vision, but I get a good wad right on the corner, and then a nice big bead all the way across. Well, if this doesn't seal it, I mean, that is one big wad on there. I think the hardest part now is going to be to not screw it up while I'm setting it in place. Some potent stuff, I'll say that much. Sure smells strong. Okay, now the trick is going to be to get this thing on here without messing that up. And let me show you one little thing here. Got these mini condoms for your tips. Just get these buggers off of Amazon. Just like that. There. That'll keep for probably over a year now. I just need to get deeper in here. There goes that seal. This hurts. Okay, I'm in, onto my studs. Wow, I think we're on. Holy smokes. All right, so that's what our RTV sealant looks like. The backside pretty much looks the same. And I know there's some red gunk still there, but yeah, you can see in the mirror, looks pretty good all the way across. Well, that turned out better than I expected. I think I definitely used too much. Bulged out all over the place, but I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to let it sit there and cure. Okay, I did actually end up cleaning these very, very lightly because I don't want to damage the finish of them. But yeah, I did clean them up a little bit just to get the this stuff. This is that thread sealant Permatex, what, 235, or I'm sorry, 592 is what it goes by. This stuff's got a pretty strong aroma to it as well. Now I'm going to put just a smidge up by the head of the bolt and then a small line down the threads. All right, so that'll help seal in the threads, and up here will help seal the top of the bolt. And this isn't necessary, but a lot of these do have, they either go into the oil gallery or, you know, in the head, the oil gallery in the head, or the valley, or a water jacket. So I would just assume get all of them sealed up as best as possible. And the last time I did this, you know, just a month ago, the thread sealant that I'm using right now does not harden overnight. So when you go to retorque it the next day, it's not an issue. You're not screwing up your thread sealant. And when I made these locator studs, I made them so I could use a flathead to retract them. Okay, here we are, next day. It's about noon. Stuff's been curing since last night around 6, I think, is when we finally strapped this thing down, torqued it down. And so the RTV, I can feel the bigger splotchy areas. It's still a little bit soft under there, which I'm actually thankful for. I was thinking about last night, I was like, man, as big as this bead is in here, if I scrunch this thing down, I torque it to full specs, is it going to pinch off a big chunk of that bead on the inside? Because something like that could clog an oil port. So that it, fortunately, it's still soft enough. I think when I tighten this down to you know, 27.5 foot-pound, I think it's going to be just fine. We'll see if any of the stuff on the outside breaks loose, which I don't think it will. Yeah, you can see here's a little piece of that or a little splotch of the thread sealant. You can see it's still, it basically doesn't really dry per se. It's still fluid-like, so I'm not worried about any of those, you know, causing issues, you know, drying up, curing, then you go to tighten the bolt down some more and you break it loose, and so I'm not worried about that. Everything else is looking good. So, and here's a little trick for you. So I have a magnetic drain plug, but I also am gonna start doing this. You can either buy a magnetic wrap that can go around your oil filter to help trap particles, and you can also buy a little round disc magnet that can go on the end. What I'm doing is using neodymium magnets out of hard drives, old hard drives. So if you got an old hard drive laying around, they've got some pretty stout, you know, rare earth magnets inside of them. And I put these on here, and there's no way those are coming off. I mean, no way. I don't care how much this truck bounces around. You know, they might slide around, but they're not coming off. So that's what I'm doing for that. And always use Wix type filters. Napa Gold and Wix filters themselves are Wix type filters. So go with that. So from here on out, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this thing put back together. I'm not gonna bother starting it today. I'm gonna let this RTV cure for at least another day. I'm in no rush. I don't have to have the truck running today. So I think we're basically on the home stretch here. One other thing that I'm doing, just to make 100% sure, at least do everything in my power to make sure this engine breaks in good, or this camshaft. Using Valvoline VR1. It's got a higher zinc content than most other oils, almost any other oil. And then the Comp Cam's break-in additive. This will be my third oil change. Well, third oil change since installing the cam. After this, you know, 2,000–3,000 miles, I won't be adding this anymore, the break-in additive. However, I'm going to stick with the VR1. So I made a mark right there on the edge, lined up with the edge of the clamp, which again, looking back, I would make my line with something permanent fixed, like maybe that little notch there, do a line right in line with that, but then my rotor is in line with the mark I made here. So it's set back to the way it was. Love it when I start running out of parts. Okay, so I labeled this number 1, so that goes to this side. This goes to that side. You know what? We are going to leave the 750 on for now. And good, she's still got fuel in her. Because I haven't had a chance to actually calculate my fuel mileage with this 750. The 600 I was getting around 6, but I was towing a lot of stuff with that at that time. You know, like the log splitter, or I'm sorry, the wood processing video I made, you know, towing it 20+ miles each way and all that other crap. So I'm kind of interested to see what kind of mileage I'll get straight up. So I'll do one full tank with this, then do a full tank with the 650 or 600 after it's rebuilt. And we'll see if I like one way or the other. And since this one's already here, full of fuel and tuned, we'll do this one first. Now we just need oil and antifreeze, or coolant. Always pour your oil, the spout up, and get the bottle tipped over a lot further before it starts coming out on you. That's why they made them that way. Hopefully after this one, I'll be safe to not use this extra zinc additive anymore. I may, however, just go ahead and bite the bullet and get, you know, like some STP or something. I've heard that those usually have a little bit of additive or zinc additive in them as well. Figured I might as well take a minute, throw a little shine on this thing. All right, so normally I would never reuse coolant, but I mean, holy cow, look at that. It looks brand new. I don't even see any sediment in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter it back into a jug and then yeah, I'm gonna reuse it. I got some new stuff sitting right there pre-mixed. But yeah, I mean, it's only been in the engine for about 3, maybe 4 weeks, 500 miles, and it looks really, really good. So we'll see what it looks like once it's in a jug. I'm not sure if you can still get them. But I was doing a painting project a few years ago in Sherwin-Williams, and he gave me a huge stack of these, probably like 50 of them. But just paint filters, and they work great. Just set them inside of a funnel. I usually try to find a pitcher, like a 2-liter pitcher, and set that right on top of it. Just makes it for easier pouring. But I think I used it for turkey oil this year. It might still be in the house. So we're just gonna try to get it straight into this 1-gallon jug. You just drop that in there like that. Bingo. The biggest problem is just making sure this doesn't tip over while I'm pouring. And in case I forgot to mention it, I hate antifreeze. I'll probably show myself or remind myself why here in about 3 seconds. It's actually making too good of a seal. I'm just using a little screw to put in next to this so that it can get air through there. All right, so yeah, not as pretty as the other stuff, but I'm reusing it. I almost forgot about that screw. I heard something moving around. Oops. Fool me once. Tell you what, I get these distilled water. It's actually in the baby aisle at Wally World. It's like barely $1 a gallon, and they pour so much easier than a regular antifreeze or coolant jug. And you get your distilled water while you're at it. That's it for today. I'm going to get to putting that rebuilding that other carburetor and maybe do some snow plowing. I haven't plowed in a few days, so. All right, so here we go. Day 3 of the project. The RTV, it's been sitting for about almost 48 hours and feels pretty solid. So I'm good with that. Everything else is done except a little quick top off here on the coolant. And we're going to try to fire her up. She's still full. Get the battery hooked back up, and we should be ready to go. Assuming, now this is a big assumption, but assuming everything here works out the way it's supposed to, I might not have to mess with this engine for a year. Maybe longer, I don't know, because I don't put that many miles on it. I might not even have to do an oil change in a year. Pop this garage door open just a little bit with my 8 degrees outside. This might take a second to prime the fuel lines. Holy crap, fired right up. Don't see any leaks, don't hear anything funny. RTV on the back side's looking good. All right, get her backed out of here and go get a tank of gas. Fuel pressure's low. Probably just still purging all the, yeah, I can see all the air in the fuel filter. Until she warms up a bit, and that fuel filter right there, see it surging right now. Once that clears up and all the air's out of that line, then my fuel pressure is a pretty stable 5 psi, which is what I'm looking for. Nothing new under there, at least not yet. See if she leaves any marks tomorrow after tonight. All right, well, hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody. Keep yanking on them bootstraps. I'll keep the Reba videos coming. See you on the next video.